Good morning. It is Wednesday, October 20th, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Um, See, now I can't tell whether or not you all heard me say good morning. Anyway, good morning again, if it's twice. Um, yes, Wednesday, October 20th, 9 a.m. here in sunny Southern California. Um, how is everyone? I'm again so happy that you're here, and of course, if you would pop your name in the comments, so I know. Um, did I allow for comments? That's a question. Let me see. I wonder if I can switch that. Hang on. Let me see if I can switch it. I don't know. That would be sad if I didn't allow for comments. Um, Josie, maybe if you're there, you can let me know. If I didn't allow for comments, I'm going to end this video and I'm going to start again because I need to know that you're here. And by the looks of it, um, oh, good. John Gardner, thank you so much. I was just about to end and start again. All right, good. Good, good. Thank you, John. Okay, here we are. Good morning for the third time. Um, our topic this morning is how to be helpful to other voice actors. This is a topic near and dear to my heart, of course. Hi, Josie. Hi, Yvonne. Oh, you're so faithful. I appreciate it so much. Um, yeah, how to be helpful to other voice actors. Um, and then one step further from that, am I ready to coach? Interesting question. Um, so I feel like everybody kind of knows in the depths of their beings, how to be helpful. Um, and yet it can be a little bit more complex, right? So I would say right off the top that the way that we help other voice actors is to not withhold our goodwill, right? I think sometimes in professions such as ours, which are perceived to be competitive, and therefore, we have to do whatever we can to get the edge, and then we see each other as competition, and we think there's there's something adversarial about that. Um, it's just the nature of sport, I think. But we are not a sport, and so I think even though yes, competition is fierce, absolutely, um, we are creative beings, and creative beings always work best collaboratively on uh, at least on one or two levels, if not many more. I realize sometimes, artistry is practiced by ourselves, right? Like we go into our booth by ourselves for the most part, and we do our thing. Nonetheless, there's a camaraderie amongst artists that I think really has to be maintained. And not only just because that is a good, in the world, right? But that in our camaraderie, we learn from each other. Um, and that I think is the really big upshot of being helpful, is that you actually open yourself up to the goodwill of others. Not only are you extending your goodwill, but when you do, others extend theirs to you. And so, not always, and that's where you really have to try and keep yourself together and maintain a sense of offering goodwill, even when it's not offered back to you. Right? That's a challenge. Um, but I have some close friends that we're in the same age categories, and we read on the same things, and we work in the same micro genres of voiceover, and we maintain our friendship, and we share and we celebrate each other. And it's interesting if any of you follow Nancy Wolfson, who is a prominent voiceover coach. If any of you follow her on Facebook, or if you follow her on Twitter, um, you'll see a post, I think it was yesterday, um, that she made of a spot for Apple in their reveal of the brand new MacBook Pro 2022. And Carrie Tombazian voices that spot, and I read for it, right? And when when she told me that she booked it, I was like, "That's fantastic," right? And then as I do, I went back to my own audition, right? And I listened to it. She played me hers. I'll say that. She played me hers, and it was a fantastic audition. And then I went back to listen to my audition, right? And I listened to it, and I thought, yeah, she totally deserved to book that. Totally. And I was completely happy with my audition. There isn't anything I would have changed, right? And um, so there's something in that little experience of what can I learn from what she did, right? How can, and then, check back with my own work, right? And recognize why she booked it, right? And offer her my goodwill. Like, why wouldn't I? Because she was the right person for the job. And again, I think that too is at the heart of our capacity to be helpful to others, right? Is recognizing what we do well, what other people do well, and allowing ourselves and others to be who we are. And that way, I'm free to celebrate when my voiceover compatriots win something, right? And hopefully they're happy when I do, because they recognize in that particular instance that I'm the one you know, who hit the bullseye, right? So there's something about our own self confidence that allows us to be kind, right? My thing too that I would love to add to it is that even when, and maybe especially if, you are feeling not so confident, not so good about what you're doing, you know, that or when I'm feeling that way, that I can still offer my goodwill, right? And my congratulations to others, because that's really where the muscle gets exercised. When we're not really feeling so great about ourselves, to be able to sing the praises of others in that particular state of being is really where we grow as people, right? And consequently, as voice actors, right? So, um, don't withhold your goodwill for others. That's number one. How to be helpful, right? The other thing is um, sharing information that might be helpful. Do you know of good coaches? Share that information. Do you have a particular piece of equipment that really works for you? Share it. Um, do you have any tips for what you do when you're feeling like crap, but you got to turn stuff in? Like, what's your favorite tea? What do you do when your throat hurts, but you still have to work? I mean, all of these things are helpful, right? And I encourage people to do such things, right? To share your own little secrets, right? Here's where I think appropriate boundaries come in about how much you share and the specifics about what you share. Like, I I think it's really important for each of us to, again, develop those muscles in um, cultivating relationships with clients. And I don't think you have to share your client relationships. I don't think we're here to, intentionally give our work away. That's not that's that's not really a part of the deal, right? Like, so I think it's perfectly fine to guard our work, right? Guard our contacts, right? But to share our methods of building contacts, right? To share our methods of how to communicate, right? Those are essential things that can be shared, and it still means that success is incumbent upon the other person that you're sharing with of actually doing the work. We all have to learn to do the work in ways that only we can do the work, right? So I think there is an appropriate boundary there about, just how much you share. Um, so so that leads me into, am I ready to coach? This is a really interesting question because, um, say it for the umpteenth time, right? I've done voiceover for 35 years. I never would have thought in the first 25, 30 years that I would be coaching voiceover. It's never a thought to me, right? So, um, so if you haven't been in voiceover for a long time, I'm not certain that it's even a question to consider. And I think what holds is the 10,000 hours rule, right? Um, have you have you accumulated that many hours of doing what you do such that you could coach it in your sleep? Have you, how many times has Tiger Woods swung a golf club before he became an expert? I'd say millions of times, right? Um, and that just makes him an extraordinary golfer. Does it make him a coach? I'm not sure, right? In the voiceover market today, like we're a little bit saddled with a lot of coaches who don't really know what they're doing, right? And so I think if you're a voice actor, I think you have to have practiced in actual working, making a living before you get out into the marketplace to coach. And there are other coaches who've never done voiceover, but who have been agents, who have been booth directors, who have been producers and directors themselves at advertising agencies, and who have a particular point of view, they've cast, right? I mean, they've cast for decades. And so they have a particular expertise. They have practiced their 10,000 hours, right, of really knowing what they're doing. And rightly so, they should be coaching. Um, so I think if you've been working for, I don't know, like, that's rough for me because I look back on my own career and I think at 10 years, I wouldn't have been able to coach. I just wouldn't, you know, um, 20? Okay, maybe if I'd thought about it, but what's my intention? Are you ready to coach? What is your intention? Is your intention to make more money? Then I would say hang back, right? Because the primary intention must be to share what you know so that other people get better. That has to be the primary thing, or your coaching will not ring true. It will not ring authentic. How much how much of what you know are you willing to give away, right? Um, I think that's actually a sign of a healthy coach that will offer a good portion of what they teach in small chunks, right? I mean, like, it's not giving away your entire course, but in small chunks. How are you helpful, right? Because the purpose of coaching ought to be that you are being helpful, and not that you're earning, not that it's like, okay, I'm going to make this my primary income. And I say that knowing that it's perfectly reasonable to be a full-time coach if you've earned it. If you've earned it with the work that you've done over time, right? So, um, I coach, when it comes to voiceover technique, I teach one thing, one little thing, because I could teach it in my sleep. I know it so well. I know it inside and out. I, 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 I could teach it in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. I could teach it at midnight. I could teach it after a couple cocktails. You know, like I know it really well and I love to teach it, right? I don't teach promo, not really. I mean, if somebody comes to me and says, "Can you give me some tips on promo?" I'll go, "Yeah, sure." But I'm not going to sell you a package of 4 and teach you promo because while I've done it a lot over the course of my 35 years, I don't know that I've earned 10,000 hours working in promo. You know, not like many men that I know who work every day several times a day and have for 20 years. They if they want to coach, they've kind of earned the earned the right, you know. I don't coach video games. I don't coach animation because I'm still in my learning curve, right? Um so what have you know really um the question, am I ready to coach, is really more like, have I earned the right to coach, is the question. And I think the 10,000 hour rule is pretty good, which, you know, I think the 10,000 hour rule is talks about, you know, when you're an expert, you know, when you've reached that level of you know, that you can call yourself an expert. I think it applies, right? Um, so let me see if there are any questions in here. Hi, Jen. Nice that you're here. Um, let's see. And Tiger isn't offering swing advice. Exactly. Um, let's see. Catherine, yeah. Always skeptical of voice talent who also coach. How could they have time if they're so successful as a talent? It's true. I mean, um, good morning. Good morning, Daniel. Um, Yeah, so it isn't that voice actors can't coach, right? That's perfectly reasonable. Again, if we accumulate enough experience, um, and I think if we also recognize and refer, you know, to other coaches who do things better than we do. Like I am constantly referring to other coaches, right? For the reasons stated. Like I don't teach those things because I'm still a student of them. Um, so um, I think that, you know, I think that pretty much sums it up, right? You really have to be honest with yourself about um, about your experience. And I think you not only have to have a sense of how you, it's like, it, you know, it's a really interesting thing when I am coaching someone who is really struggling. That tests me as a coach, and I don't mean that like, I mean that it tests my capacity to coach, right? How do I coach someone out of their struggle? Do I have that capacity? You know, do I, because it's really easy to coach people who are good. Um, but what if people are not so good, who maybe have potential? Can you coach people when your methodology um, isn't working? Like, how do you coach around that? Do you have other avenues through which you can, you know, make a point or get someone to see something more clearly? Right? Those are the questions, right? How many horrible uh, bookings have you been through? How many difficult bookings have you been through where you've been lost, right? And have had to get yourself out. You know, how many times have you been let go? How many times have you been replaced? You know, those things. If you haven't experienced those things and know that you can move beyond them, how do you have the capacity to help other people do that? Because that's a lot of coaching, getting people through their difficulties. I think that's what I experience most is people coming to me like, I'm stuck. I can't get past this thing. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I feel like I should hang it up. You know, like can you do that? You know, um, can you be honest with people when their reads aren't so good, when their demos aren't working? Even if they've just spent $2,000 on a demo, can you say, I'm so sorry, but you got to redo this if you want it to be competitive? Like, you know, are you able to praise when your students are better than you? I've had that experience, right? It's like you teach someone something and it's like, holy crap, like they should have booked this, not me, you know? Like, so it's like, how, how mature are you? You know, there are all those things at play too, right? Um, yeah, Daniel, regardless of your experience, not everyone is cut out to be a coach. It's very true. You got to see people through with a lot of patience, right? And ultimately, whatever it is that you teach, there needs to be a result somewhere that's tangible. It may not be like, oh, my booking ratio went up 50%, but is it that you really hit the nail on the head with a particular audition, or right? I mean, there are so many other ways in which we measure success, aside from just booking. There are a lot of steps of success along the way to booking. So things have to be at least somewhat measurable. So yes, that is a very, very good point, Daniel. Yes, Jen, it is mastery. Like, um, are you at the point of mastery? And I think too, there's a piece of it, and then I'll end. But there's a piece of it that is, um, are you? Do you have enough humility to know the places in which you are not a master, right? And that you can give those up to others, right? It's a super, super important piece of coaching, I think. Um, so yes. So just to sum it up, how do we help our fellow voice actors? We offer them our goodwill, protect our own boundaries as it regards our work and our contacts and the relationships that we have cultivated, knowing that, you know, it isn't necessarily helpful to give someone contacts, right? Because then the person to whom we're giving them hasn't developed that muscle to be able to build their own contacts, right? That's a really important piece. It's it's the give them a fish or teach them to fish, analogy, right? So there's that. Do not withhold your goodwill. And then how do you know if you're ready to coach? Oh my gosh. I'm not sure I should go back over all those finer points, but have you reached a level of mastery, to a degree? And do you have the constitution for it? And do you love people? Do you love your fellow voice actors? And primarily, do you want for their betterment? And make sure that you're not just doing it to earn an extra buck, because there are so many, what I would say, new and vulnerable voice actors out there, who do need real good coaching. And if we're not offering them good coaching, we're doing them no service whatsoever, and we're only taking from them, which is not anything I wish to cultivate myself, nor suggest others to cultivate. So all around, it's offering our goodwill, I think. All right, fine people. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I will not see you next week. I will be on the road, and I'll explain that in a couple weeks. But I wish you a happy remainder to your Wednesday, and to the rest of your week. And I will see you in a couple of weeks. If you have any questions for me, as always, send me a message or find me on social media. However I can be found, and I can pretty much be found everywhere. So thank you so much, and take care. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.